Here once again in the, well, not in the Toxic Studios. As you can see, I'm in on my porch, and we are in a StreamYard virtual world yet again. This is COVID week 4021, I think, and we are here tonight as we are trying to get back into the game here after being off for a little while. I am joined, as always, by my producer and Toxic Radio owner, Mr. Toxic Mike.
What's up, sir? How are you doing this evening?
What's up, brother?
You are outside in the wilderness. Are you doing that whole social distancing, and you just wanted to put yourself outside?
I am distancing from everybody right now.
From everybody, even your wife.
Even my wife. Yeah.
That's the benefit of COVID. Sorry, hon. I have to stay out here from now on. This is my new home. This
is where I'm sleeping. I'm going to hang out on the porch. I'm like a cat. I'm sleeping on the porch now.
My dad, back in the day, I remember we had a shed out in our backyard. And he actually put a TV out there. And this is when you had to have big TVs, ran the cable, ran electric. He had it was like his own little apartment in our backyard that he would go out to.
The original man cave.
Pretty much the original man cave. He would go out there, and his chair back there was one of those fold out lawn chairs that was like a woven lawn chair that was just, they sucked. They were not comfortable, whatever, whatsoever. They weren't comfortable. They sucked.
I used to love those.
Nobody liked to sit on those things.
It's nostalgia.
It's nostalgia.
even the pain in my ass is nostalgia. All right. So tonight's show, as I mentioned on my little 10-minute rant I put out on social media earlier, we have a special guest on with us tonight. His name is Chuck Francisco, but he goes by another name around this time of year because Chuck suddenly morphs into a character by the name of Dash Daring, and he is the basically the jack of all trades for Blobfest up in Phoenixville, PA. So we're going to have him come on in a couple of minutes here and talk all about the home edition of Blobfest. They've kind of had to switch things up like everybody has this year with any festivals or whatnot.
And you went one year, correct? I remember you
last
going.
year.
Last year was last year.
Yeah.
You had a blast.
Yeah, I had a blast. I wrote an article for Scary Monsters magazine. My nephew and I went up there. We had a great time, and we were really looking forward to it. And I know who he was. He's 17 years old. Like these movies, like The Blob and all those 1950 era genre movies. Mm-hmm. He's all into that shit. Like he's into the universal horror, Frankenstein and Dracula and all that. So he's really into all those old movies, and he had a great time up there. And we were really looking forward to it. And then all this, the world blew up and. It is what it is,
I think it's so cool when the younger generation gets into the older movies and keeps that stuff alive. I think that's so cool.
Yeah. Before we get to Chuck here, I don't want to let this opportunity pass by because in the interim we've been off for 5-ish weeks. Mm-hmm. We've had I don't want to call it an addition to the Paradelphia family, not yet, but there's been a bit of news with regard to a pending addition.
Oh.
Miss Jenna B. Keene made an announcement about a week and a half ago that she is with child.
Oh, damn!
So I want to congratulate her and her and John, her husband.
That is the first quarantine pregnancy I've heard of so far. Yep. So she's gonna have one of the quarantine babies.
One of the quarantine babies. Yeah, the quarantine generation.
Is that what they're going to be called? Are we coining it right now? Is that
Generation Q?
If anybody names their kid COVID, I'm done. I'm totally done.
Yeah,
that's
Corona.
It.
My child, Corona.
I'm leaving. My child. Here's Corona. Here's COVID.
Oh my God. So congratulations to her and John.
Congratulations.
I think they're doing a reveal, that one of those gender reveal things tomorrow.
Are they doing it really?
Tomorrow night, yeah.
Awesome.
They're gonna put it up on social media, I believe. So if anybody wants to watch that, I think she always says this on her name. It's at the real Jenna B.
Yes,
is her Twitter name. Hey, Gavin's on. Hey, what's up, Gavin? Mr. Gavin DeVault, Melly DeVault's son. I haven't seen Melly in ages.
Really?
Ages. Yeah.
Ages.
It's been
ages.
Like a year since I've seen Mel. So, hey, Gav, tell your mom I said hi. So anyway, yeah. So Jen's having a baby. Apparently, it's due in January.
She lost. I mean, she's been looking great. She lost all that weight, and now she's having a baby. I mean,
well, right, and that's
she's going to be putting on the good weight.
Yeah, and that's what I told her. I said, because she had that surgery, that gastric bypass thing,
Mm-hmm.
literally a year ago, and for the past, I mean, you know this, for the past year, she's been talking about, can't wait to drink. I can't wait to drink. Because you have to wait. You have to wait a year to drink. So literally, like 10 days before she was able to drink, she found out she's pregnant.
That is how that works.
Now she's gonna wait another whole 9 months.
Oh, I'm messaging her with nothing but drinks in my hands,
right.
going, sucks.
Margaritas, you know. Congratulations.
A shot of tequila. Cheers to you and your loved ones.
Yeah. So congrats to Jen and John.
Congratulations.
And Doug. Doug is gonna be an uncle. Apparently.
Oh yeah. And they're gonna name the kid Toxic Radio. It's awesome.
Yeah, you might be able to get that in there. You gotta talk to her.
I mean, you know,
I mean,
how much is it? Yeah, how much is
everything?
How much is it to sponsor your baby's name?
Hey, it's like a NASCAR, you know?
Is it?
Yeah.
Baby comes out, I slap a Toxic Radio sticker on there. This is getting to a weird place.
Just film the birth, you know, live on Toxic
Radio. COVID babies, 24/7. Awesome.
All right, so why don't we get to it here? Our guest is waiting patiently on the on deck circle here, and let's bring him in here, Mr. Chuck Francisco. Chuck,
hey fellas, how's it going?
Welcome back to Paradelphia. You were on around this time last year.
That's right. We've all grown a little older, a little border, and, a little more insulated and introverted, I should say.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Some of us a little hairier with no haircuts and stuff like that, but yeah.
This is all a trick. If you ever seen that Simpsons meme where Homer's got all the fat taped up behind, that's all this is, guys.
Special effects. So Chuck, this Blobfest, we went last year. My nephew and I went up there, and we had a blast. It was our first time up there. It was really a cool event, and we were so much looking forward to going this year. And then everything blew up. But you guys have kind of worked around that. So why don't you let everybody know like how you guys have worked around that and what you guys are doing this year?
I'd love to, Rick. First of all, I'm so glad that you guys had a good time last year. Last year was just an amazing year, and there were so many things from last year. We're like, all right, this was great, and we're going to be so much better and build on that this year. And man,
right,
2020 said, no, you're not, fella. So this year, we were waiting patiently when all of this first started. The Colonial Theatre had shut down, I think the second to last week or the last week of March, whenever the state mandate had happened.
Right.
And so we waited, and it became pretty clear by May that there was not going to be any way that we could responsibly hold a 20,000 person festival this year, probably. Let's be honest. Right. So we set to work right away to say, what is it that we can give to people? Like, what are the things that we do every year that people love and make them feel Blobfest? What can we do to translate that to a package that we could let them do from home safely? And I think we really did a good job. You used the on deck circle, which I'm really missing baseball too. Yeah. But yeah, I think we're really swinging for the fences here. First of all, we wanted to try to bring in some of the horror crowd that might not have been able to ever go to Blobfest. They maybe live in California or something, and they want to come, but a ticket's not in the cards. Mm-hmm. So this year, we're coast to coast. We started with Blob Across America. So we started with a nice social media campaign of people handing things to other people. And we actually got someone from England in there, which was really cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, maybe he forgot. He didn't get the memo that we're independent from England now. It's books are old.
They can't let it go.
So we're doing a Friday night show. That's a 1 hour show. We've taken some of the things out, but we still have all the number one hits. We've got the Shorties, which is our short film festival. So we'll have short films and the awards of those. We have the Miss Blobfest contest and announcing the winner of that. We, of course, will have a blob that escapes to potentially murder everybody. That happens every year. How that could work this year with nobody being in the theater, we're not saying yet, but I think we came up with something pretty funny. The Saturday meat and potatoes is 3 double features. and a number of other things like Mr. Lobo's Spook Show extravaganza. That's a special thing we added 2 years ago, and it's been standing room crowds. Oh, yeah, there we go. It's been standing room crowds the whole time. People really just want to get into this thing. What it is in the movie, you can sort of see it on the marquee there. It says Daughter of Horror on the marquee. That's what it says in the blob in the film. That's a movie, kind of like air quotes, a movie. I usually restrain myself from saying something's a bad movie, but it's thoroughly unenjoyable on its own. So instead of just making you watch this because it's in the film, Mr. Lobo's crafted a package around it. It's variously entertaining and mocking and self-deprecating. And we really enjoy it. So it's probably the only way to watch this movie and not die. We're going to feature that as well as three double features with the blob. So it'll be the blob and a bucket of blood, blob and Little Shop of Horrors, and blob and House on Haunted Hill.
Nice. Little Shop of Horrors, nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's my movie.
I was just speaking to somebody else who to Kristen Herman from Ben FM, and she was saying and she hadn't realized that there was a 1950s or 1960 Little Shop of Horror. She was familiar with the one from the 80s, the musical.
That's the one I'm familiar with the 80s.
Yeah. So we're talking about the original Roger Corman black and white Little Shop of Horrors.
Right.
The
one without the singing.
Without the singing, right?
There's no singing.
Mr. Mushkin sings like a couple of things under his breath, but it's not a. There's no Fosse.
There's no Rick Moranis. I mean, come on.
Right.
I'm actually looking up pictures right now, and I'm guessing that this is what we're talking about. I had no idea that this was a movie from back then. I'm 100% going to watch this.
Yeah.
So thank you. You've introduced me.
Right in the foreground on the left is Dick Miller. That guy on the left. There's Dick Miller. He's the star of Bucket of Blood, and he is also one of Roger Corman's go-to guys. You've seen him in so many movies. His autobiography is actually called That Guy, Dick Miller.
I like that.
Yeah. So this whole package here is the Friday night and Saturday movie bonanza, basically. So what does all this run somebody who wants to get involved?
A weekend pass for the whole household is just $25. If you're feeling generous and want to grab some of the merch as well, we're doing a VIP pass, which is to help the theater because they're actually just opening up this week. So they've been closed for 4 months. Yeah. And that's $100, and that includes the T-shirt for Blobfest, an enamel pin, and something else. I don't have it right in front of me. We've got great artwork, enamel pins and posters that glow in the dark from Chris Garofalo. He's huge. Horror fans know his posters. We've got a tote bag. We've got all the sort of tchotchke things that you might want to buy. Magnets to stick on your car. I think we might have snow globes, if that's it.
Snow globes.
That's cool.
I'm all in.
Yeah. Now, the one thing I didn't know, last year it was kind of my first foray into not only Blobfest, but really knowing much about the Colonial Theatre. It was something I was aware of peripherally, for years because I knew that they had shot the Blob somewhere nearby in Pennsylvania. It was just something I really hadn't looked into or known much about. So after we went up there and had such a good time, I kind of looked into the theater for the article I did, but also for just my own personal knowledge. And I noticed that you guys do a lot of this throughout the year. A lot of these genre films, you set up weekends throughout the year where you have people can come in and watch, a matinee of 2 or 3 movies that are all based on, I don't know, swamp creatures or whatever it might be,
That's a good one. I do want swamp creatures. Right.
But you guys do this throughout the year. And I just thought that was such a great idea because the theaters the size of the Colonial have gone the way of the dinosaur, unfortunately, in recent decades. The big 24 theater, extravaganza that people started building in the 80s kind of took over from not only drive-ins, but from little, couple 100-seat theaters like you see in up here in Phoenixville. You're looking at it right now on the screen. And I just thought that was such a good idea because, that experience of seeing like those old 35 millimeter films in a theater that size is something that you don't get these days, and you haven't gotten for a long time. And it's really a totally different experience than watching it at home on TV or watching it, say, even in a bigger theater on screen. It's something about the intimacy of the theater, about the movie itself. And it's a whole different experience. And I just thought that was really smart of the theater to kind of go down that route. Mm-hmm. And it's the only one that I know of in the area. I might be wrong about that, but it's the only one that I've seen doing that and going that route, with those kind of movies.
So we actually run monthly horror, cult, and now actually an action series. Mm-hmm. That was actually just going to launch in April, and their lineup of movies was so devastating, and then got shut down. So they haven't actually launched yet. The action folks, they were going to kick it off with The Matrix, and they had located a sweet 35 millimeter print to show.
Oh wow!
So, but we're going to kick that off as soon as we can. We've got the Splatterfest, the Italian Splatterfest each year. And that actually we're kicking in planning for the end of August. So keep ears peeled for details on that. We're picking the movies now so we can make the announcement.
Yeah, that's cool. I saw that last year. In fact, I was planning on going up there, and my health, I had a bunch of issues with my health, so I couldn't get up there. Mm-hmm. But I did see that. I thought that was really a cool idea.
Yeah. So to what you're speaking of, I feel like places can have bones and a spirit to them that's imbued by all the people that have gone through there, spent their time and their energy and their passion there. And when I walk in the Colonial Theatre, I feel like I'm somewhere, like I'm part of a larger thing. I've joined a thing. Everyone that's come before, those people that watched The Blob and ran out screaming, all the people that have done it since then, everyone that's come to see Casablanca when we show it, or Jaws every year, and we all still jump and scream when the shark comes out of the water every time. There's a sense of community that's almost like it stays and it pervades across time. Yeah. I felt it this week when I went in there for the first time in 4 months or 3 months to film parts for Blobfest. Mm-hmm. And I walked in and my breath was almost taken away as I walk out from underneath the overhang of the balcony, and the roof just ascends from there. And gosh, I missed it so much. You almost don't even know how much you miss it until you're there again.
Yeah, it really is a neat experience. And you guys don't just have the one theater. You guys have 3 separate theaters that are attached to that, which it doesn't look that way. When you look at it from the outside, it looks like one theater. But you guys have expanded that down the way, and there's actually 3 theaters in there. So it's actually it's much, much roomier than it looks from the outside.
That's right. They purchased, there's a adjacent bank building with a Greco-Roman column front on it.
Yeah.
We just purchased that and moved right on in.
Yeah.
There it is. It's beautiful.
Yeah. So that is actually part of the theater there, which I didn't realize until I walked in there and saw this whole other giant area to the right, of the main theater. So now getting back to the Blobfest itself. So are you guys have Mr. Lobo involved this year?
That's right. Mr. Lobo is, I actually just saw him on Monday. We were in the theater shooting segments for his Spook Show extravaganza.
Yeah. Yeah. He's a great guy. We actually got to talk to him last year on the street. He was kind enough to let me do a 5-minute interview. And nice. He's a really nice guy. It was funny because if you remember, that day last year was ungodly hot.
Oh, it's always ungodly hot.
Ungodly hot. And I was in the shirt, a t-shirt and shorts, and I'm, sweating my ass off. And he's sitting there in a 3-piece suit with the tie. And I'm thinking, my God, this guy's not going to want to talk to me. He's probably wants to get inside to the air. He was great, man. He was great.
He's that dry cleaner in business, man.
Oh, Jesus. I couldn't do what he does. But yeah, he's really funny. And his Cinema Insomnia show is one that's, kind of one of those throwbacks. It's this whole thing, that the Blobfest, the theater itself, Mr. Lobo himself, it's all a throwback to a much simpler time. And it's something that there you go. It's something that is.
That's my wife on the right.
Oh, okay. Selling the Blobfest candy merch.
Mm-hmm. Nice. She said she just wanted to do she really wanted to be a cigarette girl, so she made the trays.
Candy cigarettes. Nice. But that's what it is. Like, and in fact, Mr. Lobo talked about this last year when we talked to him. He said something to the effect of, it's this whole weekend or the weeks leading up to it. People kind of in that community just kind of come together, and they it's blob this and blob that, and it brings everybody together, and it's just this whole sense of let's do this and let's remember when things were much simpler. And that's especially these days. God knows that's something that everybody could use.
I get to a point in Blobfest weekend. So for folks that haven't been, I'm acting, I'm in character we're rehearsing on Thursday and we're there tech for Thursday. So I'm on for 4 or 5 straight days, but I'm on public facing for 3 straight days in the sun, usually in a suit. Sometimes the suit's polyester and it doesn't breathe at all. And I'm in the sun doing the costume contest and taking photos with people. And by the time you get to Sunday, which it's my fault, I thought that Sunday should have been a full, robust program. So I run that Sunday stuff. Yeah. So it's my fault that I'm exhausted. But I get to this point where I'm so tired that you don't feel tired. You're just sort of, you ever not sleep for 2 days and you're just sort of like in the zone, but everything's okay because eventually you'll sleep.
Right.
So I get to that point and I get all heady and I start to think on the weekend, and it's really obvious to me that people really just want to let themselves have a good time. And most times in life, they've got walls and stuff up, what they're supposed to do and supposed to think and supposed to feel, and it doesn't let them have that fun all the time, almost never.
Right.
But I see it at Blobfest. I get up on stage just to improv things because crowd's waiting, and I'll tell just 3 or 4 jokes. Half of them will fall flat, but it doesn't matter. They're there to be entertained, and they're with me. They're like, it's fine. It's fine. Right. We know that you tried. Here you go. We'll laugh a little bit. Roll on to the next thing. There's no. It's like very unself-conscious. Everyone's just there, and they're just doing it. And I really think we needed it this year. So I hope that this virtual Blobfest can give people that feeling.
Yeah. Now let's talk a little bit about your character, Dash Daring, because I did see you there last year. I don't think we actually had a chance to talk to you on the days of the day we were up there, because you're, like you say, you're everywhere during that weekend. So
that shirt's only one color because I've completely sweated through.
So who is Dash Daring? What is this character that you've created?
It's a good thing you brought that picture up. I was just doing some things to help out with Blobfest initially back in, I think, 2012. So if you go back far enough, you'll find pictures of me hosting the costume contest with short, spiky hair and in cargo shorts with flip-flops on. And Mr. Lobo said to me, "You can't, if you're going to be part of this Blobfest thing, you gotta have a character. You gotta have a name. You gotta have a persona. There's got to be reasons behind it." And right around that time, I saw Pacific Rim. Did you guys see Pacific Rim?
Yeah, it's been a while, but yeah.
That picture you just showed, I had to think of something. I looked in my closet, and one of the characters in the film, the guy operating the computer, he's wearing suspenders and a bow tie on a shirt with a pompadour. And I said, you know what? I could probably do that just with blob colors. And that's how I initiated the character. Now, to my wife's perpetual chagrin, when I saw the photos of it, I went, man, that hair actually looks pretty good on me. I think I'm just going to do that all the time. She's never forgiven me for that.
That's great. And I've seen you do everything from ace reporter to, like you say, you're hosting the Miss Blobfest contest and the costume contest, and so you're basically doing a little bit of everything that weekend.
I'm sort of plug and play. They're like, all right, we're gonna have a dog parade this year. I said, I'm my host.
That's right.
It's probably like, oh no, the mayor will be hosting that, but he'd like your help. Like, oh, that's fine. If you've never met Mayor Peter of Phoenixville, oh, he is the best. People just stop their cars on the street to yell and honk and say hi to him. So cool.
Go ahead.
I'm sort of the concept of the character is an on the scene Blobfest reporter, but I end up being plugged in wherever someone needs to talk.
Right. Yeah. So that was one I did miss last year. I was looking for the dog parade, and I think we were down at the other end of the street where the classic cars were when the dog parade was going on. So we just, we missed it. It is what it is.
Blobfest is one of those things where I always tell people, don't go into it with an agenda and worry about like trying to maximize hitting everything. You're not going to, like, especially with the new theaters, we run programming at the same time. So if you've seen The Blob too many times, which to be honest, there's no such thing, but some people say that, and you want to see the other feature at the double feature, we have in the second theater, we're running a loop of films, like sort of related, but not on the same theme. Sometimes we've shown the other films by the Blob director. Sometimes we've shown movies in 3D.
Right.
Just to give you an option. And that's not even considering what's going on outside on the street at the same time.
Right. And that's just crazy, because that's just a potpourri of a lot of everything. There's monster masks. There's people with movies. There's horror hosts out there. We interviewed the girl who did the inside the theater. She did the there you are doing. That's the contest, right?
That's the contest. Yeah, that's Larry Smith. He is, for my money, the best Ruby Rod that there is.
I saw Ruby Rod and I had to throw it up. That was just for me.
He has the other costume as well, with the one with the roses, the dress type thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's got both of them.
I love it.
That's wild.
I'd go just for that.
Yeah, Mike, you would love this. I know you're not like a big old movie guy, but just the whole atmosphere of the place, you would love this.
But I'm a big fan of trauma. So I'm a big fan of like awkward horror / kind of B movies. And I believe I haven't watched The Blob since friggin' I was young, and probably my parents were watching it. So I'd have to like watching it. But I like any kind of gathering where people get to be themselves. The fact that you got a costume contest, the fact that people get to go out there and just be weird. I'm weird, so I like being around weirdos. Let's all be weird together. Let's all have fun. Let's all let down our guard. Let's dress up as, goofy characters and just have a good time. So anytime there's a place to do that, I feel at home. Like I go to conventions all the time, and I've been to all different kinds. And ones that I'm not particularly like into something, like I'm not into anime, and I've been to an anime convention, but it's cool to see what the people can come up with in terms of their costumes, or what they come up with just to bring things to the event, just to have a little extra fun. So I feel right at home, even if I'm not, so to say, a fan of what the main purpose of it is. I love the camaraderie. I love that the people there look at it as like a reunion, like every year when they go to it. That's the kind of thing that I vibe off of. So I would definitely have a good time.
I love what you're talking about, Mike, because that stuff is, I feel like that stuff's actually, interestingly, the young generation coming up right now, because they always had access to everything. Like when we grew up, it was like whatever was on TV was on TV. You turned the knob and you watched it, or you walked away. Right. Now it's like, you don't have to like whatever pop music is. You could find the thing from 100 years in the past that you like.
Exactly. That's why I said, like, I love that the younger generation finds this stuff so easily and becomes fans of it. And you're like, wow, it's kind of shocking at first for certain things where you're like, wait, you like that? You're into that? Oh yeah, this is awesome. And especially if it's something you're into too, it kind of, validates your passion for it, that the younger generation is doing it. But also, that stuff that, we're into, or we were into as kids, is going to live on. And that's really cool as well. And then to be able to bring your kids to stuff like this from movies that were back then, and have them have appreciation for it, is really cool.
I couldn't have put it better.
Yeah, this is basically, imagine the movie The Blob mating with Mardi Gras. And that's kind of what you have.
All the pictures I'm showing, there are none. I've been Googling. That's why people see my head through the video. Podcasters, you don't see nothing, so sorry. But you see my head to the side. I'm just going through 1,000,001 images, and it's just so many cool things that are happening at this event. I even seen one, I'm trying to find it, where it was just a giant blob cutout, and people are putting their face. Here it is. And it's just stupid stuff like that is interesting. It's stupid. Like it looks like Meatwad from Aqua Teen Hunger Force, but you're putting your face in it and just having fun and being stupid. And I like I said, any chance to be in any way, shape, or form a nerd, let your anxieties down, let your inhibitions down, and just have a good time, and stick your head in a blob is a good time. And it's something I'd be a part of.
That's currently being stored behind the screen in the theater. It's very big. And I was in the theater by myself, closing everything off for the second 14-hour day of filming. And I had gone backstage to turn off the thing for the pipe organ. There's a pipe organ under our stage. And I turned around to hit the switch, and it was right there. It's just me in the building. Oh, God. Part of me in my head was like, I always knew I would die this way.
That's a big giant cutout falls on top of you. That's how you die. That's hilarious.
So, no, go ahead, Mike.
No, I was going to say, and so anybody out there that's just checking this out, and I see that we have a good amount of viewers right now, and everybody that's listening to this on podcast, definitely, if you're down with everything I just said, and even if you've never seen the movie, Google it and go to it, and you'll have a good time.
Yeah. Now, one of the things that's a big attraction, obviously, for everybody going there is the merchandise you can buy on the street. There's, like I said, there's tons of stuff you can buy all up and down that road. But this year, obviously, it's not going to happen. But you guys do have merchandise, things that you mentioned, T-shirts and stickers and things like that. So, with regard to that, do you have can you give an idea of what people can purchase and where they can go if they want to purchase that kind of stuff?
Mm-hmm. So there's two things going on. We're trying to help out and try to make it the same experience but folks had before. For me, I'm always thinking ahead, and I plan to bring a wad of cash to spend at those vendors each year when I go. So in addition to our Blobfest stuff, we're actually going to link a online vendor alley, which is just going to be links to most of our vendors, so you can go shop at their places from home.
Cool.
If you've been saving your Blobfest money, you can still buy those things. We do have our T-shirt we do every year. This year, it's actually really hilarious. If you go to the site, it's the Blob wearing a surgical mask. I can tell you that that's a difficult thing to render properly, as you can imagine. Make it clear that that's what that is. So we did meeting after meeting. Should the Blob be larger and more bulbous? Should the mask be smaller or placed higher up or down? It's.
I can't imagine I can't imagine that was a problem you ever had before.
I do a lot of graphics, and I can only imagine sitting there forever just trying to figure that out. Because I've actually seen some billboards out there where people have plastered masks onto politicians and stuff. And you could tell they did it horribly and they didn't position it correctly. And I can only imagine.
So yeah, we've got T-shirts. This year we've got posters. We have two different posters. We normally do a hatch print. For those in the know, hatch print or not in the know, hatch prints are a very prestigious, long time concert poster creator, and they do other things too. So every year, a patron of the theater commissions them to do a special Blobfest print and pays for them himself. For us, donates them for us to sell. And then our main poster for the home edition will be a specialty print by artist Chris Garofalo that glows in the dark.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. He's done some enamel pins for us as well. And we've got, just off the top of my head, sticker packs, enamel pins, regular buttons, a 3D button, snow globes, a magnet, tote bags. I think that's everything.
Wow.
I love what it says on the poster, virtually oozing with fun.
Mm-hmm. Chris is, if you've never seen Chris's artwork before, he is just spectacular. He came to us when we started doing posters a while ago, and we have a number of poster artists we love to work with. He came to us and said, "Hey, I just got you're showing Friday the 13th Part 7. I just have this poster I'd already done. Can I come to the show?" We're like, "Okay, sure." And man, he's been one of our best poster artists since then. He's done amazing work. If you look up his Event Horizon poster and show that, there's a crazy story behind this poster. First of all, one of my favorite 90s horror films, Event Horizon. But we found out that a woman, there was a big story, Bloody Disgusting might have carried it. A woman had the design from the poster tattooed onto her face and scalp.
Oh, Jesus.
Wow.
What?
This much of her face across and then back through her scalp, because the poster is sort of an amalgamation of the rotating core and a woman screaming and barbed wire and stuff. And it's crazy. And I think you might be a lawyer as well.
What is his name again?
Chris Garofalo, Garofalo.
Well, Mike's looking that up. As far as getting tickets, virtual tickets, I guess it would be, and all that stuff, where can people go to do that? Is it the Colonial Theatre site, or does Blobfest have their own site, or how does that work?
It's on the Colonial Theatre's main site, so it's colonialtheater.com, and theater is spelled R-E as the last two letters rather than the American way.
Okay, cool. And we'll definitely link to that in our show notes to make sure everybody who's listening to the show or watching the show can have access. Oh, there you go.
Look at
that. I wasn't able to find the poster, but I was able to find the T-shirts that are available for home purchase, and the merchandise page that is also on the colonialtheater.com site.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. All right, well, Chuck, I want to thank you for coming on with us tonight. Definitely, it sounds like a great time, regardless of the whole Corona mess. You guys have put together a hell of an experience. Everybody does the best they can in this situation, and it sounds like you guys really came up with something that's it's $25. I mean, that's affordable. Even $100 for the whole package is affordable. You'd spend that. I guarantee you, if you drive up there, if you're any kind of distance from that place, you'd spend that in gas, tolls, and parking to get there. I did it last year, so honestly, $100 is not that big of a deal. You're probably spending an extra maybe $30 beyond that for all the merchandise and all the access to the event. And the other thing is that, and we didn't really touch on this too much, but I mean, Colonial Theatre is not a big theater. It's a smaller business, and obviously it's been hurting like every other smaller business during this whole mess. And this is going to definitely help them out to stay in business. And you want theaters like this to stay in business. You want events like this to succeed and come back next year stronger than ever, because it's just something it's ingrained in their community, but it's also something fun. And it's, it just takes your mind off of all the crap, not just what's going on this year, but just in general. Like you're an adult, you have adult issues. Everybody does. This is just a weekend to kind of just say, you know what, screw it. I'm going to go have some fun. I'm going to go watch some old movies, see some people dressed up like a big blob of gelatin, or whatever, see Dax walking around in his bow tie.
Wonderful chance to just unplug and decouple a little bit. And the back end platform we'll all be watching on is Vimeo. So it'll have a chat window just like most places. So you can interact with me. I'll be in there all day. I'm actually challenging folks to watch The Blob all 3 times. And I'm going to be checking in with them and sort of telling them, okay, now you've seen this once. And Steve's going to take his girlfriend back to Lookout Point at the beginning of the film. Do you think he's going to get any further than the first time? Do you think will the old man still stick his hand in the blob? Will he have learned from 3 hours ago? Probably not.
Probably not. He hasn't learned since 1958, was it?
That was the last performance by Olin Howland. He was a silent film star. Of course, by the time of The Blob, he's very old. But that was his last movie.
Oh, wow. Did not know that. That was one of Steve McQueen's first, right?
That was his breakthrough performance. He was playing a teenager at 27.
Yeah. And
you can keep an eye out. He keeps his wedding ring on. He refused to take it off. So there's his 18-year-old Steve.
I did hear that. Yeah. Yeah. That's dedication right there.
I think that was his first wife. So
he eventually divorced this woman he kept the ring on for.
I believe so. Yeah. You can see him. You can see smoke coming up behind him in a couple scenes where he's got his cigarette held behind his back for the shot.
Jesus. See, that would be, you ought to do like a riff track for the movie. That would be fun.
There was a thing that came out in the 70s that you might want to look up. It's called Blobbermouth. And these people had taken the blob and they professionally ADR'd in a complete new sound, dialogue for the entire film.
Really?
Wow.
With a very 70s, we've all done way too many drugs level enthusiasm.
That's great. That's great. All right. Well, Chuck, again, I want to thank you for coming on.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
The colonialtheater.com.
.com, yep.
colonialtheater.com. And again, we'll post all this stuff in our show notes, and we'll definitely promote this for the next week. So you, just to clarify, you can get access to this. You can buy your tickets now all the way up through the day of next Friday, correct?
That's right. Yeah, you can buy them. They've been on sale since beginning of June.
Okay. All right.
You can buy them. You can actually buy them on Saturday too. So if you decide I'm busy Friday, but I want to check out Saturday, tickets will still be available.
Okay. Very cool. Very cool.
Awesome.
All right. Well, again, thank you very much. And we look forward to the Blobfest, and I definitely look forward to 2021 and getting back up there in person and experiencing that again. That was a really great time.
Thank you so much. I can't wait to meet you up there, and we can rub the blob plaque together for luck.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, Chuck, you take care. Have a good night, guys. And good luck.
Wow. Very cool.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Very cool.
And it's a like I said, it's a really, really cool event. It's a shame what happened, this year, this event, and many others, obviously. But it sounds like they really put together a nice program that, you can experience as much as you possibly can experience virtually at home, and it's definitely affordable.
I mean, and it's not any different than what a lot of bands have been doing with home concerts or a lot of other events. The other thing I like about this is paying the money for something that's first off going to be memorable for years and years and years and years to come, in terms of Blobfest during COVID. Like, it's something to, if you're a part of it while it's happening, you can say that you were a part of it. But also, you're not just buying it for the one person in the household, you're buying it for everybody.
Yeah, that's true.
So, if you've got yourself in your house, your wife, your husband, and some kids, like, that's a family activity right there. So it's not just the fee for one person to enjoy it. With the way technology is now, you pop it up on the TV and everybody's enjoying it.
Yeah, and one of the things we didn't really get into, and it's my fault, I should have brought it up a little more, fleshed it out a little bit better. But on Friday night, they do the short movies. And what that is basically is all amateur videos, all amateur movies that people make. I believe there's a certain time limit. I think it's, 3 to 8 minutes or something like that. But basically you make a movie. It doesn't have to be blob related. They're usually like the horror sci-fi genre related.
Right.
And they submit them, and the best ones get looked at on that Friday night, and then there's a vote done, and there's a winner of the best short movie. And some of them are really, really freaking good. You
really aren't. You guys weren't joking when you said there's just so much to do.
Oh yeah, and the thing that sucked last year for me was, and I wrote about this in the article I wrote, and I told you guys this. I didn't get up there Friday night. I went to drive up there the Friday night because the whole thing goes from Friday through Sunday. I was planning on going up there Friday night, coming home, and then going back up on Saturday afternoon. And Friday night, I went to drive up there and went to cross over the bridge in Philly, and my car died. And I wound up spending literally 5 hours sitting behind 30th Street Station in Philly because waiting for a tow truck. And so I obviously never got up to Phoenixville that night. Came home, and I got Taryn's car, and I drove up the next day using her car.
Right.
But I missed the Friday night event, and the Friday night event is when they do the short movies. They do the there's a what do they call it? It's a dance. Like
the electric blob.
No, it's like literally it's like a sock hop. It's like an old fashioned sock hop they do.
Right.
Mr. Lobo does his opening spiel, and he's kind of like the master of ceremonies for the weekend, so to speak. So he does the whole intro to all the movies and all that stuff. And it's like a really good time. And it was something I was looking forward to seeing. Unfortunately I didn't make it up there that night. I did, luckily got up there the next day to experience at least some of it. But, hopefully next year things will all be cleared up, and I can go get the full. Oh, and they do the run out. Where the people in the theater, people in the theater run out the doors.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they recreate the run out scene from the Blob.
I think I had that up here, but yeah, we showed that for a second. Yeah.
Yeah.
The run out scene where everybody just runs out, and then you all get trampled like it's Black Friday.
Yeah. And if you guys want to see, get a taste for what goes on. I mean, obviously not this year, it's going to be different, but if you want to get a taste for what goes on, if you go to Mr. Lobo's Cinema Insomnia, and that it's his show, his homage to like horror hosts. So he's done this show called Cinema Insomnia, where he hosts movies. Usually they're old sci-fi horror movies, but in one particular one every year when he's done Blobfest, he hosts I don't want to call it a documentary. It's not a documentary, but it's basically clips from the different events in Blobfest. It's things like 3 hours long. Like you can sit there for an afternoon and basically take in everything that happened during Blobfest for the entire weekend. I watched the one before I went last year. I watched the one from 2018 that he had posted, and I know he has one up there now from last year's Blobfest in his. I think it's on Roku. It's on Vimeo. I think if you just Google Cinema Insomnia Blobfest or something like that, I'm sure there'll be a link that you can see. And it gives you a really, really good idea. If you have a couple hours to kill and you want to see what goes on at a typical Blobfest weekend, it's a really good idea of what you get. And there's a lot that you get.
Yes.
During the weekend. So it's a good time. Definitely a good time. All right. So why don't we do this? Why don't we take a break here?
Oh, Rick.
There we go.
Oh, Rick.
We're back. Back here on Paradelphia on Wildfire Radio.
On what radio?
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, you got one too.
Oh, wow. That's I wasn't even thinking. That's a blast of the past right there. Toxic radio. My God.
Tonight is an interesting night. I gotta say, up until the two flubs we just had, which my flub was the music not going, the commercials not going live over the video, because I muted it while I was trying to get it to work, and then forgot to unmute it, and then you calling it Wildfire. It's beautiful. But we had such a great interview. You did a phenomenal job talking about Blobfest and everything, that just the universe was like, all right, that was a perfect intro and interview. We're gonna pull the rug out from underneath you for this part.
Absolutely. And I've switched to candle power, by the way.
Oh, that's romantic.
I've switched to candle power. I've turned off the fluorescent light and gone strictly to citronella candles. So,
I mean, if you want me to, I can dim the lights over here.
I'm gonna make a s'more soon. Yeah. I actually have a pit out back there. I haven't even lit it yet.
You have a pit outside, and you've been kind of like quarantined at home, and you haven't gone out to chill next to the pit?
Well, here's the problem. And this is a little bit of an embarrassment. I went to light the damn thing Friday night. I think it was last Friday. Got kindling, got wood, went to Home Depot, got these wood chunks of, like, I don't know what they are, cedar wood or something, and then got the kindling. Took my flashlight, my lighter out there. Couldn't light the day. I mean, I lit it. It lit a little bit, but I couldn't get the damn thing to like catch and become a roaring fire. So it all just kind of fizzled out. And then my lighter ran out of fluid. So I'm like, you know what? This sucks. I can't even let a goddamn fire.
That's a pissed off dad moment. That's when kids yell, "Don't go to your dad. He's pissed off." Why? He couldn't light the fire. And
Taryn's like, "What's the big deal?" I'm like, "Taryn, people have been lighting fires for like 150,000 years. I can't light a goddamn fire." So yeah, that didn't work
hilarious. Out well. That is hilarious.
So anyway, I want to thank Chuck Francisco again for coming on. The Blobfest is not this weekend. This weekend's 4th of July, but the following weekend, the 10th through the 12th, is when it's going to take place virtually online. Again, go to colonialtheatre.com, and I'm sure they have links on there for the Blobfest. You can buy your tickets. You can buy your merch. It's a good time, and it's for a good cause. Like that theater, again, it's one of the smaller historical theaters in the area, and it's something you want to keep patronizing. You want to keep going there, giving them your money, showing. I mean, like he mentioned, there was the thing Splatterfest. He mentioned that. There's a little for anybody watching online. It's a little video of Mr. Lobo doing. I guess that's his Friday night show. Maybe I think it's his Friday night show. The Splatterfest. That's really cool. If you look that up, Mike, you would love that.
I was looking it up during it's like a horror thing.
Yeah, it's like a whole weekend. They do these old horror films that are kind of like those old they're not like the 50s era horror films that are kind of not childish. I don't want to say that, but the monsters are like people in suits. But this Splatterfest is kind of like that 60s, 70s era, 80s era horror where it got a little more gruesome, got a little more bloody, a little more, carnage. Right. And that was I was gonna, like I said, I was going to do that last year. I looked that up after I had gone to Blobfest, and then unfortunately all hell broke loose with my my health and everything in September. So I think the weekend I got diagnosed was the weekend we found out, or sorry, the weekend I got diagnosed was the weekend they were doing Splatterfest.
Right.
And Chuck said they were doing it at the end of August this year. So we'll have to keep an eye out for that. Hopefully this, God willing, this COVID thing will back off some by then. And if it does, it might not be a bad road trip to take up there and, maybe do a show or at least do some kind of filming up there. And we'll put together some kind of video package or something.
I'm down to go to join you. I definitely want to go be a part of this.
Yeah. So the only other thing I wanted to talk about tonight, and we haven't been on air for 5 weeks. So a lot of crap is going on in the paranormal world, and most of it having to do with UFOs. This has become, I mean, we talked about it the last time we were on back in mid-May or late May. You mentioned it. In fact, I forgot to bring it up, but you mentioned how the government basically came out right before that show. It was like middle of May, early May, and talked about these videos that were shot by Navy pilots. And how the government came out and basically said, yeah, we don't know what this is. These are definitely the real deal, and they're definitely unidentified. But since then, it's kind of picked up steam. Yeah, there's a video right there, a picture of the video. It's picked up steam to the point of, this is slowly becoming more mainstream and more accepted. In part because the government has come out and done what they've done. In part because there have been, over the years, there have just been so many credible witnesses and credible books written with all kinds of sightings. An interesting case I saw just last night. I don't know if you guys saw that they re-released, or not re-released, I'm sorry, that's not the right word. They rebooted Unsolved Mysteries.
I heard about that, yes.
On Netflix. I was a big fan of the old show, and I'm not a big fan of reboots and sequels, so I wasn't real sure how to take that. But I figured, all right, let me watch. It's different. It's not like the old show. The old show was like an hour long, and it showed there were probably 3 or 4 different stories within the show. Robert Stack was the host, and he kind of was the guy guiding you through all the different stories and all the evidence. It's nothing like that. It's basically what it is every episode is one single story. The episodes are anywhere from 35 to 50 minutes long, give or take. And there is no host. But the production value of the show is really good. They're shot in documentary style. And it's basically a mini documentary each episode. 5 of the ones that they did for the first half, because there's going to be 12 total in this season. The first 6 dropped on Netflix a couple days ago. And the next 6 are supposed to be like later in the year sometime. 5 of the first ones were true crime, and some of them were pretty freaky. But one of them was an alien abduction case, and it happened up in Massachusetts in, I believe it was the late 60s, 66 or 69 or something like that. Here's I guess
showing the trailer.
Yeah, the trailer for the show. And this case was really wild because it was basically took place over the course of like dozens of miles of this area of Massachusetts. It was seen by countless numbers of people. A couple of the kids were children at the time, were abducted. The one family was crossing a bridge, a little covered bridge, and they came through the other side of the bridge, saw this gigantic light in front of them, and all of a sudden they blacked out and woke up back in the car, but they were in different seats in the car. Like the mother, the grandmother was behind the wheel and she hadn't driven for years. Like, so whoever took them tried to put them back and fucked up and put them in the wrong seats. But it was really interesting. And these people, when you hear UFO abduction stories or Bigfoot or any of these things, ghosts, any of these things we talk about, one of the things you always hear the investigators say is that when you hear the witnesses, when you literally stand face to face in front of these people and you hear their story and you hear them tell it, you can tell when somebody's telling the truth. Like you can see the sincerity in someone's face. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's iffy and maybe they are telling the truth, maybe they aren't. Sometimes you can flat out tell somebody's lying, but there's other times when even though the story is crazy, these people are looking you dead in the eye and they are getting emotional and they are feeling that story as they're telling it. And that's kind of the impression I got from this story last night, because these people that were on this particular documentary about this abduction case, they weren't screwing around. Like they were basically saying, this happened. I don't care if you believe me. I'm 50, 60 years old now. They basically, and they made a good point. They're like, who would lie about this? Because the attention they got in these small New England towns was not good attention.
Oh no.
Like the one kid was ostracized for years afterwards. Like he couldn't get a girlfriend in school. He was teased. He was beaten up. He was bullied. Like who the fuck wants this to be their life? Like, why would you lie about something like this and put yourself through that? But yet, and it got to a point where he stopped talking about it for that reason, because he didn't want all the negative stuff that comes with it. But again, you hear these people telling the story and you think about the situation. Like it's easy to hear me on a show like this talk about a story that so-and-so told and I'm regurgitating the story. It wasn't my experience. I didn't hear it, see it. I'm just telling you what I heard. And when you hear something like that, it's pretty easy to go, yeah, it's just a story. But if it were me that it happened to, or if I had that person on a video chat like we just had with Chuck or something, and you see the emotion and you see them tell the story, that's a whole different thing.
Mm-hmm. Oh, definitely.
So you understand why the investigators who look into this stuff, when they talk to these people in person, they say, yeah, it's a crazy story, but you had to hear them tell it. Like hearing somebody tell the story kind of seals the deal. Like you can tell, it's an inherent thing that people have where somebody's not full of shit when they look and feel and act a certain way. Mm-hmm. And these people absolutely believe these things happen to them.
You're definitely selling me on having to watch this, because I mean, for the longest time you hear people tell these kind of stories and, right away your BS radar goes off of, whether or not they're being truthful or not, if they're in it for something else, if they were on, drugs. I mean, you hear that sometimes, on something that made them think that they seen it. But definitely for me, I'd like to check this out, because we know my past with UFOs. But
are you still having the dream?
Yes. Shut up. Yep. I just had one just the other night. It was
How often does this happen, Mike? Every time I talk to you, you say you have one.
I literally at least twice a month. I would have to say at least. I just recently had one, and I remember the one that I had. I can't remember it now, but I know that it went further than most of them, because I remember waking up going, I never went that far, if that makes sense.
When you say further, what do you mean?
Like there was always a point where I woke up or something to that degree. Or like, they lifted me up and I woke up. I feel like something like I was in there and they were doing stuff, but I know for a fact I just recently had the dream of being abducted.
Dude.
So
seriously,
like, and this past one was like almost, there's your fireworks for 4th of July.
Absolutely.
This past
every night.
This is not just for 4th of July anymore.
No.
But this past one was one of those, like, it felt so real. Like you wake up and for a moment you have to convince yourself that you were just dreaming.
So for anybody who's new to the show or hasn't heard, why don't you explain what this dream is? And I'm kind of curious myself because I know what you've told me in the past, but I want to hear what this new further edition of the dream is.
I've had many alien abduction dreams. Either it can go from anywhere from they just aliens come from the sky and me and whoever I'm with have to run. Aliens have entered people that I know. Aliens are lifting people out from entering people and the aliens are glowing figures, and they are entering people to pick them up by entering their bodies to the mothership. Or, I get abducted myself, and in a lot of the dreams I'm running frantically from the aliens. But I have them pretty regularly, pretty often. And when I first brought this up on the show years ago, I was under the impression that everybody had these dreams. And I was just like, yeah, the alien dreams, the ones that everybody has.
And,
yeah,
and you were so naive. You're just like, yeah, the alien dream. And Doug and I were like, what are you talking about?
I was like, everybody has it. And everybody in the room turned around and looked at me like, not everybody has those dreams.
No, nobody has those dreams, Mike.
So, yeah, I recently had one. It was, I've started to think of you when I wake up from these dreams. I got to start writing them down and writing down what's going on.
Oh, absolutely.
But
keep a recorder, talk into it.
I recently had another one. So yeah.
So these dreams, when you say that you're with other people, are you with the same people each time or different people?
Different people.
And
different
you know
people.
These people?
Sometimes I know them, sometimes I don't. Sometimes it's been people that have passed, like my dad's there. Sometimes it's, I'm in a different place, or I'm somewhere where I'm not supposed to be, or I've moved into a house I didn't know about, or something to that degree. And then all of a sudden you look out the window and you're like, oh, it's happening. It's actually happening.
Have you ever tried to contact the people in the dream and say, hey, have you had a dream like this?
No, I have not.
Might be a good idea.
It might be a good idea. I'm going to jot that one down. Contact.
Because if they say yes, hey, you were in this dream I had too.
That would creep me the F out. That would.
Well, I mean, that
would make me. That'd be like Freddy Krueger. Like I wouldn't want to go to sleep again.
And like I said, we've talked to enough people over the years where I could find someone to regress you.
I said I was all in for it.
Yeah, so
we might have to wear masks. We might have to wear masks now, or it might have to be over the internet.
Yeah, we'll figure that part out. That was before all the COVID crap happened.
COVID crap. Hashtag COVID crap.
Yeah, but we definitely need to dig into this because a couple times a month you're having these dreams.
Yeah,
I mean, I mean to laugh, but Jesus Christ, dude, how are you a skeptic with all this? You're literally having abduction dreams multiple times a year.
I have a messed up head. I don't know.
No, it's not. I don't think it's your head. Have you ever had anything weird come up on? Have you ever had an MRI?
No.
For any reason?
No.
Any kind of scans like that where you have like electromagnetic X-rays, anything like that?
Nope. Nothing.
You've never had an X-ray?
I've had. I mean, you were talking about like scan. I've had X-rays. Yes. Okay. X-rays of like my chest or my arm. Yeah. Nothing in my head, and nothing where it's like not just an X-ray for bones.
And there's nothing weird on your body anywhere. No, like odd. I don't know. Odd. What? This just gets better and better. What do you have? A third penis?
No, I don't have anything odd. No. Not that I know of. No. I mean, I have a giant mole on my back. I mean,
well, no, some of these cases people will find either they'll see it, or there's cases where they'll find something internally through like an X-ray or through like an MRI or something like that. That's why I asked about the MRIs and X-rays. yeah, you are definitely a case study we have to dig into, because this is not normal.
Put it down in your show notes. Put it down in your notes.
At the very least, you're either being abducted or you've got some shit going on in your head that is just,
I would go with option B.
I don't know.
Get me a therapist. Let her dig
man.
around in there. And I say her because I'm not going to a guy therapist. Let's go to a therapist. I'm not telling all my issues to a dude. It might be sexist. I don't care. A girl therapist.
Isn't that anti-sexist?
I don't know. I don't know, but if it's a therapist, it better be a girl. Oh my God.
You talk to Taryn. Taryn's a therapist.
Oh.
I mean, she mostly deals with little kids, but she's a therapist. I mean, your mentality is like a 10-year-old. So
I'm going to navigate past that one. Navigate right past that one.
All right. So anyway, yeah. So it's been interesting, and we're gonna have to start following up a little closer on these. It's one of the things over the years I really haven't done a whole lot with, and I said this before in the past, because when I started the show, to me, UFOs and Bigfoot, those two topics were the cliche topics in the paranormal. You know, that was everybody did shows on Bigfoot. Everybody talked about UFOs. There were entire podcasts and shows dedicated solely to those two topics. So it seemed like beating a dead horse when I would, bring up these topics. We've done it occasionally over the years, but not very often. However, given in light of this, what's been happening in recent months and last couple of years, maybe we should dig a little deeper into that.
I say it's a great idea. I like it.
So, and we'll definitely
find out what the hell's going on in my dreams.
We'll definitely have to dig deeper into your fucked up psychology.
Whatever's going on up in this thing.
What's going on in your mind? That might be the scariest episode of all.
Oh my God! Everybody, tune in. Get ready to just stare awkwardly at your device that you're listening to.
Yeah. All right, so let's wrap things up here. It was a fun show, and definitely had a good time with Chuck Francisco. Again, if you guys get a chance, go to colonialtheatre.com and look up the merchandise, look up the event, Blobfest. It's called Blobfest, the home edition, this year. And if you guys can possibly do it that weekend, not this weekend, but the following weekend. Throw down $25 if you have it in you. Throw down $100 and get some merch along with it. It's a great time. It's a lot of fun. And like I said, the short movies are really cool. On Friday night, Mr. Lobo is a freaking blast. Watching him do his thing, where he does the hosting of everything. Saturday sounds like a really cool lineup of movies. They're going to be having. So it sounds like a really fun time.
Mm-hmm,
and definitely it's definitely for a good cause to keep that theater running, and hopefully we'll come back strong with a old-fashioned in-person Blobfest next year.
Definitely.
All right. So again, want to thank Chuck Francisco for coming on, and I want to once again, as we mentioned at the beginning of the show, congratulate our own Miss Jenna B on her pending arrival. Jenna B and her husband John. We'll be back next week, and we'll have the gender apparently by then. They should be doing their gender reveal tomorrow. Funny thing, Jen asked me, she asked in general on Facebook, how should we do the gender reveal? People are like, oh, do balloons, do this. I said, no, here's what you do. So you have dogs, right? She's like, yeah. I said, feed the dogs, or have someone feed the dogs colored food, and then wait.
Jesus Christ. And then wait. Follow them around the yard,
and wait.
Christ, you're a nut.
He's crapping. Harry, go, get the camera.
You're a nut. You're an absolute. You've gone crazy. Somebody help this man out.
I thought it was a great idea.
Oh my God.
I don't know. All right. So anyway, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for Chuck for coming on. Thanks to you, Mike, for doing the production again. And we'll be back next week. I think next week we're going to have Rachel Hoffman on. We're supposed to have her on way back when we stopped doing the show back in May, and she's going to come on and talk about some true crime stuff and some theories she has about the nature of evil in human beings, I believe is what she was going to talk about. All right. So until then, we will wrap things up here. So for Mike, for myself, we are Paradelphia. And we are out of here.